Welcome to the Things I Wish I'd Known podcast, where guests share learning from life experiences to help others on the same path. Hello and welcome back to Things I Wish I Had Known. It's Sophia Giblin here, your podcast host, and this week I've been speaking to Kim Palmer. Kim is the founder and CEO of Clementine, which is an app for women, and she also runs a wellness community for women. Kim's journey was all about how she struggled with anxiety and how she found hypnotherapy as a tool that can help her, and now how she helps other women to deal with things like anxiety, confidence, body issues through her app. So we're talking about all those topics today. It's a really great episode, this one. So I hope you enjoy the episode. I'm so happy to be here today with Kim Palmer. Kim's the CEO and founder of a women's wellness community. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Thanks
morning.
so much for being here with us today.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about what you do?
Okay, brilliant. So if I talk about what I do now, and then we can sort of go into how I got here. Like you said, I'm the CEO and founder of, it's called Clementine, which is a app and a community for women. And I suppose the simplest way to describe it is we help women to change their mindsets from I can't type thinking to I can. So much more positive, and so that they stop avoiding things that they may have been doing and actually doing more with their lives. Interestingly, it's not a new job because I've been doing this as a side hustle for the past 3 years.
Gosh.
That's quite scary actually to think about that. I came up with the idea for this back in January 2017, and then I spent sort of 9 months building it off the side of my desk whilst I still had my job, etc. And then once I built it and launched it, again, I just kept it as a side hustle, and 2 weeks ago, which is really exciting, I'm very happy. If you could see me right now, I've got a big grin on my face. I left my job finally, and that was a really big thing for me because I am the main breadwinner in my family. And not only just that, but I put a lot of self-worth in having a certain type of career, and to let that go and to do it in a really positive way has been, a game changer for my mental health, to be completely frank. My mental health, but also my confidence. And I suppose going forward now, a change in career path really for me. So sorry, that's a very long-winded way of saying who I am. And also I have 2 kids as well. So I'm a businesswoman and a mum to 2 boys. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's me.
You're a busy lady.
I'm a busy lady. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't get done around here. So let's be real about it.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey to being a tech founder, right?
Yeah,
Is that how
I know.
you describe yourself?
Do you know what? It's really interesting because I never use that terminology to describe myself. However, recently, because I am a founder of a tech business, a digital business. Everything I do is online. People have been asking me to speak at women in tech conferences and contribute to women in tech communities and blogs. And at first I was like, it felt really uncomfortable. I had a lot of imposter syndrome about being called a woman in tech. And I think that was partly because technology sounds like such a scary thing. And I don't place a lot of importance in a way on the tech because I worry more about what the tech delivers. And I wasn't sure that was a world that I was really in, because I used to think, but everyone who's in tech is like really techie and very I suppose intelligent or knows more about that world than I do. And then I realized when people were asking me to talk about it, I was like, but I do know this world. It's just that I'm doing it in a slightly different way, and I put the focus on what the tech does, not the tech in its own right, if that makes sense. So sorry, what was your question? Sorry.
I'm interested in your journey. So I remember I saw you speak, I think it must have been like 18 months ago or something like that at this event.
Yeah, I was
the
pregnant.
Stella set.
Yeah.
Yes, you were pregnant.
I was pregnant, yeah.
And it was a women's event.
Yes.
And you were telling your story about how you came to be a tech founder.
Yes.
And it's a really good story, so I think our listeners would like it.
Okay, so basically, before I pivoted into this world, I spent my whole career working in corporates, brands. So I worked at Tesco, worked at Clubcard, I worked for a major bank, Lloyd's. And I always did lots of sort of consumer marketing product type roles. And Kim at work, I was a workaholic, completely obsessed about climbing the corporate ladder. Like I just was. And I was a perfectionist, like extreme perfectionist. I was a people pleaser. I'm sure a lot of women will connect with this. In fact, not just women, anyone who's in that environment. And I now realise, looking back, that I had massive case of imposter syndrome. I always used to compare myself to everyone else at work and always came off second best. I had a really great career. I worked my way up to 6 years ago when I had an incident. We'll talk about the incident in a minute. I managed to get myself into a position where I worked for one of Tesco's fancy new startups in London, and I was the head of customer engagement, and then I also took on another role as the interim marketing director. So I worked my way up. Except I never felt good about working my way up. I never ever pat myself on the back about anything at work ever. You know, did a good presentation, people would be like, amazing. I could have done better. I was just always like, could do better. And that also, I now realise looking back, spilled over into my personal life, where I was just incredibly critical about everything that my husband would do. Poor guy. And, you know, I needed to have a bigger house, the next big house. I needed to have better holidays. I needed to have the best clothes. Do you know what I mean? It was, I was quite a tightly wound up person.
Right.
Yeah. And
never enough.
Nothing was ever enough. And consequently, again, as I look back, I used to get a lot of headaches. And I remember always getting to the weekend and just feeling a bit like down, and it's like, you know, it wasn't that I was really, really unhappy. There was something missing.
Yeah.
And I just felt tired all the time. I remember my mum, she used to come here to the UK because I'm a Kiwi. And I remember she bought this book for me, which was about eating more meat, because I'd always be complaining about being tired. And she's like, you need to eat more meat. And I now realise it wasn't about eating meat. It was because I was a workaholic and just had a lot of anxiety that I didn't know was there.
Yeah.
So what happened was 6 years ago, I became pregnant. So I became pregnant, and I didn't obviously know what it was like to be pregnant. And I became even more obsessed about work, because in my head I had a clock ticking, which was, by the time that I leave work to have my first baby, I need to have secured this job as the marketing director. So I took on 2 jobs whilst I was pregnant, and just worked crazy hours. I actually ended up going to hospital for 2 nights whilst I was pregnant because they thought I had appendicitis. I didn't have appendicitis. I was just stressed out because I wasn't looking after myself.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was. I'm embarrassed now. I think about it, how I treated myself. You know, I just wasn't looking after myself. I basically ignored that I was pregnant. And so because I wanted this job, and I remember the founder of this business was like, you need to chill out, and that made me even more determined to not chill out and just go, well, I'm going to show you. Anyway, I was at work one day. It was a totally normal day, but I was running around like a headless chicken. I had a meeting, just a standard meeting with my team and an agency, and I was in this meeting presenting, and I ended up having a panic attack in front of everybody in this meeting, and it was so awful. They stopped the meeting because it was very obvious that I was not coping. And my friend, luckily, his wife had been pregnant, so he really cared for me and said, look, we're stopping this meeting. Kim needs to come out of the meeting. She's pregnant. She just needs some space, da da da. And anyway, that moment, and I know it's going to sound crazy, but that moment, just because I put so much of my self-worth of being good at work and being this amazing woman, you know, it was the beginning of an unraveling for me of my confidence. And I slowly started to stop doing things and talking. So I would go to meetings and I'd hide it. No one knew that this is how I felt, but I would get my team to present, for example, because I didn't want to do it myself. And then by me doing these slow acts of pulling back, my confidence I kept losing it, because I was worried that every single time I was going to speak, I was going to have a panic attack. And then I went on maternity leave and had no idea what it was going to be like to have a baby. But I had a vision and it wasn't what it was like. Right. And I ended up having panic attacks in front of friends, in front of family. And every time I had one, you'd get into a worse cycle with it, because then you'd stop doing more, because you'd worry about having a panic attack. Yeah. And so I just felt awful. And anyway, I got made redundant because they sold the business. And I then had to start applying for jobs, which was really hard when you're not feeling very good about yourself. I had a panic attack at an interview, it was awful. So anyway, I knew I needed help. And I finally opened up to my husband, who had no idea I was feeling like this. No one knew. And he was shocked and sad and supportive, and said, look, you need whatever it takes, just do what you need to do to get some help. So I had some therapy that didn't really help. And then I met a friend and she said, look, why don't you try hypnotherapy? And that was the moment. That was a game changer, because I felt like immediately, I just felt like something had been lifted off my shoulders. You know, this calm had come back. I wasn't cured by any means, and I'm not. Even today, I still get panic attacks. But it helped. It became a tool, like a really helpful tool to get me to even start to want to go out to dinner with my friends, or want to see my family, or, you know, go to the baby group and introduce yourself, because I would stop doing that because I didn't want to say my name. You know, all these little things, and to be able to get a job, to go back to work. And so, yeah, the hypnotherapy was a game changer for my health. And then what happened was I got back into the workforce, and I'll just fast forward slightly. It took me about a year to feel okay at work. And I didn't push forward. I sort of stepped back, actually. I was like coasting, because that's what I needed to do to kind of preserve myself. And then I thought, I'm going to step back in. I'm going to lean forward, you know, I'm going to go back onto the career path and get that next promotion, da da da. And I realised quite quickly that felt incredibly wrong, and I started to exhibit some of the behaviours that I had previously, like getting obsessed about work again, worrying all the time, and imposter syndrome, all those things. But I knew straight away, quickly, that was what was happening, so I nipped it in the bud. And had a conversation with a guy at my work, a chief strategy officer, who's very kind and generous with his time with me. And he asked me a question, a very pointed question that helped me get clarity, which was, as I was thinking about pushing forward, he said, do you know what, Kim, you can totally do that. You could do any job. You know, you've got the skills to be able to do anything in the world. But what do you really want to do? Is that what you want to do? I just challenge you, I dare you, he said, to think about, if you could do anything, what would it be? And I was like, that's a bit of a weird question, because no one asks you that anymore. No. Especially not at work. People don't ask you that, because they expect you to just go on this sort of, you know, corporate career path. And I thought, oh wow, that's deep. So I went there, I did the deep thinking, and realised that actually what I really harboured, a dream of setting up my own business, and that all my values aligned with having my own business. And then it took me some time, and I gave myself some space to think about what it could be, and it became clear to me that I was not the only woman who felt like this in the workplace, funnily enough. And that I could do something to help them. And I had all of these dots kind of connected around hypnotherapy being a tool, and helping women in the workplace. And yeah, I dreamt up this idea of Clementine. And that took me to 3 years ago, and I've just worked my ass off.
Yeah, you have.
to kind of build a community of women now, where I know what we do really works, and we just need to figure out a way to sort of grow it now and scale it. But it's good.
It's amazing.
I probably need to take a breath.
I mean, your story is one of. I'm sure lots of people listening probably will relate to it.
Yeah,
I've certainly have had panic attacks before in the past, and have had hypnotherapy as well. So if anyone is listening to this and is struggling, I think definitely it's worth trying for sure.
Yeah,
and getting the app.
Yeah, definitely.
Get the app. So the app's got loads of hypnotherapy recordings on it, hasn't it?
Yeah, so the way the app works is I've built it around, so I spoke to women face to face, had these amazing chats with women about, in your everyday life, where do you struggle? So where are those moments in the day where you just need some help? So it became clear that sleep was a massive problem. So we designed all of these sessions around helping women to get to sleep and sleep better. And then the other one is around confidence, huge topic. We don't have nearly enough sessions yet, but sessions to help women, in those moments where you go to do something where you're a bit nervous and you're on edge and you're like, I just need someone to pep me up a bit. So sessions around that, or something bad has happened and you need a bit of a reset or whatever. So confidence. Then there's stress. We worry a lot and ruminate a lot, and it's trying to break those habits with very short, snappy sessions to get you back into a state of feeling like you're calm and confident in your thinking. And then I've introduced a panic button feature. Actually has ended up being one of our most popular features, which surprised me, but now I realise it doesn't surprise me, because lots of people need something very quick to get them on track. And then one of the most popular aspect of the app is the motivational messages that we send to women. So you can opt into getting a motivational message sent to you like between 1 and 12 times a day. And they're not cheesy, quotes. They are quotes or just hard-hitting messages, but they, when you're just having a really bad day, or you're at work or whatever, and sometimes you just need something to snap you out of it. And normally that would be your friend phoning you or sending you a message. Well, that's kind of what these messages do. And it's all free, apart from this new section we've created. So there's no excuse really to give it a go. And it is hypnotherapy, it's not meditation. That's a really important distinction.
Okay.
Hypnotherapy is cognitive hypnotherapy is scientifically proven to be more effective than CBT at treating anxiety and depression. There's a big study that's been done around that now. And hypnotherapy is different because it's about allowing you to, in a way, let go. So you have a lean back experience, whereas with meditation, it's a lean in experience where you're active in that moment. And actually, for women who are feeling tired and frazzled and like your brain can't cope, hypnotherapy is an easier access point. And maybe you would move on to meditation once you can get a sense of calm in your brain. But to get you straight into that, sometimes a lot of women struggle with meditation.
That's really interesting, actually, because as you're saying it, I remember in a very anxious period, being told to meditate, and even focusing on my breath would bring on panic because I'm like, I can't breathe.
I know, exactly. and this is why I did a lot of research around this. Women just kept telling me, because I wanted to do meditation, I had the same thing, and I was like, I felt like I was failing. And as women, a lot of women have the perfectionist trait in them. it brings on a sense of panic and of failure. And who needs that when you're in a vulnerable state? You just need something to help you feel good again really quickly. And that's why I believe that hypnotherapy is easier to access for most women. When they're not feeling so good.
So it gets you into this relaxed state.
Yeah, it's like a treat in a way, but it's so powerful because the words connect. Like, we've spent a lot of time on language. Language is really important, and making it feel as though it's almost like your best friend is talking to you, but they're your most powerful and expert best friend, because it is therapy. They're therapists. Not just narrators. They've thought about the techniques to use to help you snap you out of it.
And I think quite a common experience can be that you feel alone in anxiety, right?
Oh God, yeah. So alone.
And so you've got, in this community, you've got, as you said, you've got therapists, but you've also got other women.
Yeah, so when I talk about community, so we have over 60,000 women now, and trying to just curate safe spaces for women to be real and honest. So Instagram is a really good place for that. And I know it might seem like Instagram is not the place for that, but it's the opposite for me and what I've done with my community, where we just talk about real stuff that's going on every day, like feeling bad. I've just been through and just coming out of the back end of a very dark burnout period because of trying to do my job and trying to do Clementine and trying to have a family and basically trying to do it all and just not being able to do it all. And I didn't look after my mental health again. And so I talk a lot about that and just being open and honest and transparent, so that other women feel like they can be open and honest and transparent about how they feel. And it's that thing, isn't it? Sometimes when you say you don't feel bad, it helps you immediately feel better. It's like when I used to go to work, if I was having a really bad day, I'd often say to the people on my team, I didn't sleep well last night, I'm having a bad morning, just take a wide bath. And then they knew to take a wide bath. But then by me saying it, I felt better already. Yeah. It's that whole thing about just a problem shared is a problem halved. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. And we'll just grow the access points around how women can collaborate and engage in these sharing of conversations.
And I guess it's about also us acknowledging our own boundaries and expectations around what is that we can and can't do sometimes.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Even someone was asking me recently, I am not on Instagram stories at the moment. I haven't been since I started this burnout, and that is my boundary, a way of protecting myself because it's too much. So I realised that I can't always I want to be able to share, but there's a point where you go, I'm spending too much time doing this.
Yeah. Giving too much of myself.
I'm a giver.
Yeah.
And that is good, but there also has to be a boundary around giving.
Yeah, for sure. But I think once that balance of giving and receiving goes out of whack, can be quite hard to bring it back.
It's so hard to bring it back, and I now have learnt some lessons from the burnout, and that's around putting around more boundaries around time spent. We were talking about this earlier. Time spent on something that you're passionate about is good, but you shouldn't spend all your time doing it, because you have to have your own time to give yourself some space and do other things and be with your family, be with your partner or whatever. There's a fine line.
Yeah. And I think you need the headspace to acknowledge that, where you're not putting the boundaries in.
Yes.
If you don't have the headspace, you just keep doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because you think you're doing good, but actually you're not, because you're doing good for everyone else, but you're not doing good for yourself. Yeah. And then it's just a vicious cycle.
And if you have nothing left, you've got nothing to give to other people.
Yeah, totally.
And when you're a people pleaser.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh God, it's just like a mind crazy. It's it's interesting. I think for me, what I've realised is that, and Natasha was talking about this on her podcast, around everybody has mental health, and it's not a linear path. It just isn't. And it's something that you have to focus on, not your mental health, but just being okay every day. and that's okay. And it goes up and down, and that's okay. And it's not like, even when I was in my burnout, I knew that I was going to get through it. I didn't worry about it so much, because I now don't think that the path always has to be about always feeling good. It's okay to not feel good, and being okay with that's quite a big thing to admit to yourself. Yeah,
life's not always going to be sunshine and roses.
No, and that's okay. And to sit with it, and actually sitting with your feelings is helps you move through them. And it's interesting because my husband and I talk a lot about this, because we've got 2 children, and my eldest son is an incredibly emotional and very expressive person. And when I was growing up, I remember if we got angry, we would get told, oh, don't get angry, or stop crying, and all these things. And I really have to stop myself and think, actually, it's okay for him to get angry. And it's okay for him to cry, and I shouldn't be saying, shh, stop crying, because it's a valid emotion. And I think we put too much emphasis on trying to be happy all the time. I don't believe in that. I believe that just being content is so much more fulfilling, and that those other emotions are really, really important too.
Well, I think it's about integrating our experiences, isn't it? So if you have the emotions, if you don't allow them to flow through, or they're suppressed in you by an adult or whoever, they just get stuck.
Yes, they get stuck, and they come out in other ways.
Yeah.
So everything is connected, isn't it? Physical, mental, spiritual. God. Yeah. It's probably getting a bit deep.
We're complex beings. But I think it's amazing what you're doing, and bringing awareness to this and giving women tools. It's incredible.
And simple tools. That's the thing. I think that's what I realised in the market, is that there's so many access points. But what I realised is that for busy women, they want stuff. They don't want loads of stuff. That's the other thing. Just tell me what I need, give it to me, make it super simple, without any jargon, without all the, woo-woo words and whatever. Just, make it so simple. And that's what I think that's what I'm trying to do.
Because I suppose if you've got that, if you're struggling with stress or anxiety, it feels like you've probably got a mountain to climb. And if there are no steps...
Yes, exactly.
How do you even start?
And this is the thing that I find with so many women, and this getting started point, whether that's in business, you get overwhelmed, you've got too many things to do, and it's like, okay, well, let's just break it down and work out what's the micro step. And the same with confidence. It's not thinking, I need to feel more confident. It's, okay, today, to make myself feel okay, I'm going to go out for lunch with that person. I'm going to email that person that I've been meaning to speak to for ages. It's breaking everything down into a daily minutiae task, and the act of doing those things turn into you feeling better, feeling more confident, because the world didn't fall down because you did that thing. I think we worry quite a lot about stuff, so just trying to just pull back. As I remember, I've got a friend who is an Olympic rower.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he won a medal at the China Olympic Games. And there's this whole thing about, what is the one thing... Forget about winning the Olympics. That's not the goal. The goal is, what am I going to do today, right now, to help me get better? And that is it. That's all you focus on.
That's such good advice. It's being present, right?
Yeah, being present, small things, tiny little habits. So I've curated an everyday world for me, that I know I have rituals that I do every day, and they ground me. So if I don't do those things, then I know that I'm starting to sort of slip. And so, but over time I've had to work out what those are, and they span the whole day, so that I start the day well, and I end the day well, so that the next day it kind of goes on. And Clementine is part of part of the tool of that day for me.
So it provides kind of a scaffold
Yeah.
to keep you on track.
Yeah, totally. And they're just tiny things, but tiny things have a disproportionate impact on your life.
Yeah.
I believe, anyway.
And is that how you got your confidence back?
Yeah, definitely. It was a long journey, but hypnotherapy was the start. Talking about it was also the start. So talking to my husband, then also talking about it at work. So I had a massive panic attack in front of the CEO of Wunderman Thompson, where I worked, in my first week of working.
Oh gosh.
That was the lowest of low points for me, because I honestly went home and I said to my husband, I didn't sleep for about 3 days. I thought they were going to fire me, because you come up with all these crazy things in your head. And I said to him, that's it. I'm never going back to work. We have to come up with another way that we can support the family. And he was like, yeah, we'll do that if that's what you want to do. But then in my head, I was like, no, I had an emergency hypnotherapy appointment. And I thought, I've got to be able to get this under control. I've got to. And part of that was about making work safe for me. And to do that, how am I going to make work a safe space? Is I had to talk to someone about it. And I had to take it head on, which was awful. I remember doing it. And so because I'd had that panic attack in front of her, the CEO, I needed to speak to her. So I phoned her. She thought I was going to resign. And I said, look, I need to meet with you. And my hands were shaking. It was so bad. Because I didn't want to open up about it. I didn't, but I knew I needed to. And I had this meeting with her, and she was like, are you going to resign? And I went, no, I'm not going to resign, but I need to tell you that I had a panic attack in front of you the other day. She had no idea.
What?
She had no idea that I had this panic attack. And this is the interesting thing about it, is that sometimes in your own head, things are so much worse, aren't they?
Yeah.
And so that was good. I told her. And then she then went on to tell me some stories about her. And I'd put her up on a pedestal, as you do. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people do this about, not just at work, but in your career or your friends. You're like, oh, they're better than me. They have all this stuff. And she brought it back down for me. And she said to me, the thing is, Kim, you need to lower your expectations of work and what success looks like to you, because you're such an ambitious person. You need to chill out a bit. And coming to work on time, let's start there. When you've got kids, is success. Getting out of bed, getting everyone out the house, getting here by 9 o'clock, that's success. You should be celebrating it. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's so right. I've just got myself completely out of whack again. And anyway, she made that, she went on to become my mentor. But because I opened up to her and she opened up to me, it made work a safe space, because it removed a lot of the barriers in my head about always having to be perfect all the time. It's like exhausting.
Yeah. And all the stories, I guess, that you're telling yourself about what other people are thinking.
I know. And it's like no one cares. It's a bit like with people going to the gym and the fear of going to the gym, because you think everyone's going to be looking at you. No one's looking at you. No one cares. Everyone's thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
And I actually genuinely believe that it's kind of the same at work.
Yeah.
And almost in your career. It's like everybody's just focused on what they're doing, and, hats off to them. They should be. That's what we're here to do. But we're just reminding yourself of that was helpful.
Yeah.
And for someone so senior to break it down for me. And for her to not seem so scary.
Well, yeah, to connect with you on a human level.
Yeah, a human level. I was talking to someone about this at work as well. It's like we don't connect enough at a human level because we're so busy all the time. And just that tiny little story that she shared with me about her made me think, wow, I can do this. Yeah. It's the sharing of stories and the connection. Yeah, I think are really important.
Yeah, very important. And can inspire real change.
Yeah, totally. And I find that with my community as well. It's like, just like this morning, I was talking about the fact that because we're having to reframe our money situation, so we're going back to basics with cooking and actually planning our meals out, which I haven't done for a really long time. And women love to hear that. They're like, oh, okay, right. We're not the only ones who've been really struggling with meals and, you know, stuff like that. And it just helps you think, give yourself a break, like cut yourself some slack. But then try to do something, a tiny thing.
Yeah, any small action.
Any small action is a step in the right direction.
Love that. Yeah, I remember I saw that on Instagram this morning. You posting about your
food
shopping.
Our food shopping.
I was like, that's actually, you're so right. You're like, just take 5 minutes to plan your meals for the week.
I know.
And then when you go shopping, you know what you're getting.
You know what you're getting, and then every day you don't have to be worried about it. I was just getting stressed about cooking every day and actually spending more time thinking about it, whereas I spent 5 minutes thinking about it at the beginning of the week.
Well, I suppose we're all sort of reacting rather than responding.
Totally. In a world of like constant, you know, reaction. That makes me feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, because I am a natural control freak.
Okay.
Which I've had to learn how to sort of be less worried about that. But there are some aspects of your life that are worth getting a little bit of control over if you're spending a disproportionate amount of your time worrying about it.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
Like cooking for the kids every night.
Every day, something you have to do every single day.
Might as well try and
get
some control over it.
Yeah. So what things then do you wish that you'd known earlier?
Oh, do you know what? It's so interesting. Because I would never change anything about my journey. I really wouldn't. I think it's good to have bumps in the road. I think looking back, I remember always thinking when I was at school and at university that your success and happiness is linear, and that there was one path, and it meant, when I was younger, it meant getting a job, you know, getting a traditional 9-to-5 job, working your way up, getting more money in terms of a salary, and like getting married, having kids. That was what success looked like. And if you achieved those things, then you'd be happy. No. It's not like that. And I wish I'd known that actually by being more flexible and like not linear with your thinking around what life is, that actually the more experiences and different experiences that you can have. Like I've had so many different jobs, which is quite unusual, in so many different companies, and I've moved around quite a lot. Those things, and having a breakdown, you know, and moving to another country, leaving my ex-boyfriend, you know, I also got into a lot of trouble when I was younger, which I've never talked about. Those experiences they're my story, and they've got me here, and I've never, can honestly say, even going through burnout and all this stuff, I've never been happier. That those are really important, and that it's okay to have bumps in the road. In fact, I welcome it. I say have bumps in the road, you know, be adventurous, don't go for the safe path, just do stuff that feels good, that feels right, and that will lead to something else that will, you know, just be a bit more open with the journeys. I think at school, school doesn't really help with this. I see this with my son already. You know, he's only in year 1, and there's a lot of pressure, and I'm like, oh gosh, no. Do stuff that makes you happy, makes you feel good on the inside, and that will lead to something else. And, you know, not worrying about money as well. But talking about money, we never talked about money when we were younger, actually, and I'm not sure that was a good thing. I now realise I have some money hang-ups. Yeah, and actually, like, we talk a lot about money in our house, with our sons now. I'm like, money doesn't grow on trees. We're really struggling at the moment for money, so let's just think about this, and talking about how we grow money, all that stuff. And just being much more transparent, I think, is a good thing. So sorry, I think it's a linear path. Like, don't think about your career and life as linear.
Yeah,
just do
it's not.
It's not. Do stuff that makes you feel good,
Yeah.
and it will lead somewhere that will be good. It just will, and trust that.
It always works out in the end. I really believe that.
It just does. It's hard to tell someone younger that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think as like a mentor to people, and even with my own family, if I can instill that in my children to go for those things, then I will do that. And not to follow the pack.
Yeah.
Definitely not to follow the pack.
I was just thinking, actually, it must have been hard for you because you're a very creative person, right? With constant ideas and, obviously you've set up a tech business on the side whilst you had the full-time job or like a...
Yeah.
And 2 children, like how you can change your shape to maybe fit what you think other people want from you in a career or whatever, or even in a relationship. I'm not saying you, I mean us as women, probably particularly.
No, definitely. For me now, I can see quite clearly I'm making a pivot in my career, and a part of that pivot has been about me understanding what drives me in terms of my values. I did a lot of deep thinking around this. Spent a month, just thinking about what's important to me, and it took so long because what I had on the page at the beginning was what I thought was important to me, and what I thought everybody else wanted me to do, because you spend your whole life basically, in that sort of rote kind of situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then unpicking that, I realised that actually those things weren't important to me, and so I had a very clear view on my values. And then I realised that the job that I was doing wasn't right. That some of the people that I'd surrounded myself probably weren't right. I realised that I did want to have another baby. Really big, life-changing things, and it took me 2 years to curate and move and transition to where I am now, into this world where basically I only ever want to do things that bring me joy. And that's a job, even the type of work that I'm doing, who I'm working with, the stuff that I'm doing with my kids, the house that I live in, they're all stuff that, I'm sort of banging on now.
No, you consciously created, and
I really had to think about it, and that was a game changer, I think, for where I am right now.
Yeah, and it's not an overnight thing.
No,
it takes time.
It's taken time, but it's worth spending that time. We also, it was a conversation with my husband too, because what was really interesting is that I mapped out what I thought our family vision was, and then I spoke to my husband about it, and that wasn't his family vision.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And that was interesting.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh my God, what are we doing here? We're in the completely different places. But it was a poignant moment, because we needed to realign and get clear with each other about what was this world we were creating together. And that vision had consequences for like me leaving my job and stuff like that. So it was really important that we were aligned. Otherwise who knows what would have happened in 10 years time.
But that kind of brings it right back to what you said at the beginning about helping women to acknowledge and address things head on that they might be ignoring.
Yeah, totally.
Because we can just go through life with blinkers on.
Yeah, it's really easy to do that, and I totally get it, because when you're tired and you've got loads of things going on, because life is hectic for everybody, regardless of how much stuff you're doing, everybody is busy. Taking a step back from that for a moment can be a game changer for you and for everyone around you. And it doesn't have to sound like a really big thing. It's just taking more time to think about it, about the decisions you've made and how you got here, and what you really want to be doing.
Yeah, important stuff.
But it's hard when you're really busy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, for anyone who's listening, I'd suggest you go out and download the app. It's a free app.
Yeah, free.
It's full of amazing content. Kim has done this because she believes in what she's done and how it's helped her, and you want to help other women.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyone should go and check out Kim's Instagram because she is very honest. And you will get good tips about how to plan your life.
Learn from my mistakes.
There we go. Well, thank you so much, Kim. It's been such a pleasure to speak to you today.
Thank you. It's quite therapeutic.
Is it? Does it feel like a therapy session?
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Thank you so much and take care. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. Kim is such an inspirational woman. I can't believe that she did all of this, setting up of a tech business, whilst also having another full-time job and having 2 small children. So I think what she's achieved is absolutely incredible. Everybody should give her a follow on social media at Clementine App UK on Instagram, and also find the app and download it in the App Store, Clementine for women. And you'll get some brilliant hypnotherapy recordings. Like, who doesn't need that in their life, really? Thanks for tuning in again for this episode of Things I Wish I'd Known, and I look forward to seeing you next time.